Breaking news: Putin, president of Russia, travels to Kyrgyzstan. The International Criminal Court indicted Russian President Vladimir Putin for war crimes in Ukraine, but on a rare trip abroad, Putin has arrived in Kyrgyzstan. Russian President Vladimir Putin, who was indicted by the International Criminal Court earlier this year for war crimes in Ukraine, arrived in Kyrgyzstan on Thursday for a rare trip abroad. Putin met with Kyrgyz President Sadyr Zaparov and Azerbaijani President Ilham Aliyev in the capital city of Bishkek. A Russian airbase in Kyrgyzstan turned 20 years old, and he was there to celebrate it. Kyrgyzstan is hosting the Commonwealth of Independent States Summit this Friday, and Putin is expected to attend. Other countries whose heads of state will be present at the summit include Azerbaijan, Belarus, Kazakhstan, Tajikistan, Turkmenistan, and Uzbekistan. Yerevan and Moscow's relationship has frayed amid mutual accusations, so Armenia's Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan has decided to skip it. This trip marks Putin's first trip outside of Russia and Russian-controlled parts of Ukraine this year. He traveled to the Crimean Peninsula and the partially occupied Ukrainian regions of Donetsk, Luhansk, and Kherson earlier this year. The International Criminal Court issued an arrest warrant for Putin in March on charges of child deportation from Ukraine. The Rome Statute, which established the International Criminal Court, requires all countries that have signed and ratified it to arrest the Russian leader if he enters their territory. Even as Armenian officials sought to reassure the Kremlin that Putin would not be arrested if he entered the country, the move caused Putin to skip an economic summit in South Africa in August and further strained Moscow's ties with Armenia after it moved to ratify the Rome Statute earlier this month. According to the Kremlin, the warrant is invalid because Russia does not recognize the ICC's jurisdiction. There is no Rome Statute ratification in Kyrgyzstan. It's the only one in Central Asia. After invading Ukraine and facing growing international isolation, Putin visited both countries last year. In 2022, he traveled to a number of different countries, including those in Central Asia, as well as Armenia, Belarus, China, India, and Iran. Putin is scheduled to visit China once again at the end of this month. He also accepted an invitation to visit North Korea last month, though the timing of that trip is still up in the air. Legal notice: Copyright 2023, AP. This is a protected work. No reproduction, transmission, publication, or redistribution of any part of this work is permitted. The European Political Community, EPC, which has variously been described as a European version of the United Nations General Assembly, a marketplace for ideas, and unscripted speed dating between the heads of nearly 50 countries and 4 EU bodies, is increasingly floundering and falling short of expectations. The European Permanent Council, EPC, an initiative of French President Emmanuel Macron, was officially launched a year ago at a summit in Prague Castle to serve as a photo opportunity to signal a Europe-wide rejection of Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine. A second EPC summit was held in Moldova at the Chateau Mimi, reiterating the organization's central message in a country that has been torn apart by conflict and tension for decades. Without a pre-negotiated joint declaration, President Putin's visit to Granada's historic Alhambra Palace for a third summit with 49 leaders and a cameo appearance by the Belarusian opposition leader in exile, Svetlana Tsikhanouskaya, would have been no more impressive than receiving an unwritten postcard from long-lost friends.